Hello, my name is Floyd Funk. I am a Kratom advocate as well as a Kratom consumer. I think it's important for me to state that I have nothing financially to gain in this fight for Kratom. The main reason I'm in this fight is to help people recover, like as I did myself, who came from a hopeless state of mind, body, and spirit. I wanted to make a video today just to talk about something that I've received messages about, and I think it's super important for me to address. And the question always is, do I feel I traded addictions? Did I just switch one substance for another? My answer to that would be absolutely not. A little bit about myself before I just jump into that is I feel I was born with the disposition to be an addict. I was also born into an environment where drugs were socially acceptable. Drugs and alcohol have plagued both sides of my family for a very, very long time. Now, when it comes to addiction, for anybody who doesn't know what addiction is, addiction has nothing to do with substances. It has nothing to do with drugs. That's an underlying issue. It's an obsession and compulsion of the brain. What happens when we use substances, then there brings into it's also the mental and physical aspect of that addiction. If you're using prescription painkillers, other prescription pills for anxiety and depression, stuff like that, or alcohol, there comes the other part, which is the physical dependency. And that changes the game. It's one thing to have to battle the mental obsession about stuff, but once you become physically dependent, you're in a different ball game. People battle addictions all the time in this country, but it's not just to substances. We're talking about sex, gambling, work, relationships. The problem is when we use substances to try to treat our addiction, it unleashes and puts us into another category. There's serious consequences at play when you're dealing with substances and drugs it's not that other addictions aren't dangerous, but they're definitely not as dangerous as addiction to drugs. Now, I've been battling substance abuse for 23 years. For over a decade of that it started with prescription opiate painkillers, moved on to heroin and other hardcore narcotics. Today, I have over 11 months of recovery, and Kratom is my number one tool that has allowed me to gain this time that I have today. Now, let's talk about the question, did I trade substances? I over 23 years, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of trading one for another. I would get off one, and then I would just become addicted to another one, and that would go so on and so on, especially when opiates came into play. I tried a lot of other things to get off opiates. I tried other opiates. I tried other prescription medications. I tried alcohol. None of those ever worked. Any success I might have had was extremely short-lived. Because those other substances did the same thing in my body and mind. They released the mental obsession and also came the physical craving and dependency. And eventually my life always became unmanageable. Now, when it comes to me and Kratom, I don't have the mental obsession that comes with other substances that I've used before. When I take Kratom, it eases my pain. Like I said, it's a tool. It doesn't cure anything, but what it does is it puts me in a state to where I have strength to battle through certain issues. People use Kratom for anxiety, depression, chronic pain, what I like to call chronic substance abuse issues, which I suffer from all of those. I have addiction issues, I have depression, anxiety, and Kratom is my number one tool. Also, and play with that would be the Kratom community, which is my recovery community, which we lean on each other and we help each other get through hard times. A lot more than just when it comes to Kratom use. We're a very informative group and we love each other and we show each other a lot of love. So the other aspect of that is when it comes to Kratom, I have no physical craving for it. My body, when I take a dose, especially with opiates, when I would take an opiate, 5 minutes after I took it, I'm already watching the clock for my next dose. That's just how it worked, It became to a point where I just needed to take more and more and more. And eventually I got to a point to where it wasn't helping with the pain anymore. It was just fueling my addiction, and I was taking them just to feel well. I wasn't getting any type of relief from them. Now, when it comes to Kratom, my dose has gone down in 11 months. My dose was higher. I think it's important to say I did not use Kratom to detox. I was already 7 days clean. I was through the worst part of my detox before I started Kratom. But it was still a hard road. I don't want to give people the misconception that Kratom was a fix-all. There's still a lot of hard work to be done. You still have to be ready to go through some pain. Still got to be ready to deal with some major issues, some issues of our. I always try to say that our disease is of a mental, physical, and spiritual aspect. So those are the lines that you need to grow upon once you stop ingesting opiates or other hardcore drugs. And Kratom allows you to have that growth. I've said it before that Kratom, what it did is it gave me a moment of, through desperation, I had a moment of clarity, which led to the changing of my perception of myself and everything around me. And that was my psychic change. That's brought me to where I'm at today. When I don't take my Kratom, I have no physical craving. What I do have is pain issues. I have chronic pain issues that I have to deal with. I have a hard job, and it's a battle, but I can make it through it. I don't have the withdrawal that I had with 100 other substances that I've used to combat the same issues that I use Kratom for. Kratom never gave me, people, let's address this elephant in the room as well. People in NA, Narcotics Anonymous, feel that you are not clean if you use Kratom. But let's talk about the NA program. They talk about any substance that leads to addiction, which I've talked about earlier in the video, releases the addiction, which is the obsession and compulsion in the mind, coupled with the physical craving. Now, if Kratom doesn't fit that bill, okay, so that's a couple categories that are very important to their program that Kratom doesn't fit. Let's talk about the unmanageability of life, which is also something very important talked about in the Narcotics Anonymous program. My life is far from unmanageable today. My life is the most manageable it's ever been in over 30-something years. I'm 36 years old, and 23 years of substance abuse. My life was never manageable. I was never able to hold down jobs. I was always selfish, self-centered, lying, cheating, and stealing. Kratom's helped change my life today. That's important for me to talk about. Now let's talk about the last aspect, which would be the mood or mind-altering substance. NA program considers any mood or mind-altering substance a relapse. That is not recovery. So let's address that. Here's the way I like to look at this. All right, if I'm battling from anxiety and depression and chronic pain, of course I'm in a bad mood. I'm isolating. I don't want to deal with people. I don't like to deal with myself. So I don't even like to really say that Kratom is a mood booster. What Kratom has done is because of the simple fact that it's helped combat my depression and my anxiety and my chronic pain, of course I'm in a better mood. Now, did Kratom actually boost my mood, or did Kratom just help me deal with the underlying issues which caused me to be isolated, depressed, anxious, and then also what comes with that, which has always been my major issue, is using substances that destroy my life to try to combat that. And it doesn't work. It really does not work. So it bothers me that certain members in the recovery community do not find this acceptable when there's thousands and thousands of people that live manageable lives, that deal with chronic pain issues, that deal with chronic anxiety, depression, and chronic substance abuse issues, that live good lives today. That's what it's all about for me. If somebody still takes prescription pills, they still take opiates, they're in the methadone clinic, I have no problem with that. It's all about your quality of life. What kind of life are you living today? Are you taking care of your children? Are you taking care of your job? Are you holding down your responsibilities? More power to you, Unfortunately, there's a giant that those would be in the minority, unfortunately. The majority of people who have long-term opiate use, their lives fall apart. It's a very sad state to be in when you're mentally, physically, and spiritually just dead, and you start to give up on life, and you don't interact with your family, and chronic pain has you just crippled in bed, and anxiety and depression do the same thing. I've talked about it before. I cannot take opiates, so how am I supposed to combat my chronic pain issues? I can't take opiates safely. I can't do methadone safely. And I've tried it, and that's just the facts of the situation. Federal government wants to ban Kratom. That is a very, very dangerous road we're on. People are going to die, and that's just the fact. If they ban kratom, people are going to die. And there's going to be several avenues that they take for that to reach their death. They're going to also end up in jails, institutions, and that's just the way it goes. When we're taking away people's painkillers who take their pills responsibly, their pills last all month long, and they're regulating them and they're taking them away or they're cutting their dose. Unfortunately, that's not how opiates work. You can't take somebody's pills back and cut their pills 30, 60 a month. That's going to create a problem. What's going to happen in that aspect is they're going to search in other aspects to be able to find pills on the street, which now turns them into a criminal. It also puts them in a dangerous lifestyle that they were not in before when all they were trying to combat their pain issues, and through regulations, they've taken away their pills. Now, if they take away their pills completely, then they're trying to find them in the street. But herein lies this problem: the supply and demand. The supply is going to be low and the demand is going to be high. So people are going to start doing heroin. People that have never done heroin before, and here's an important aspect of that. There's a lot of people that took their pills responsibly that never developed the obsession and compulsion of the mind. You know, they had a physical craving for it. They had a physical dependency of it. Once they start doing heroin, it's going to change the game. It's going to be very dangerous. We're going to combat, people are going to have a lot of overdoses. There's going to be a lot of people ended up in jail. They're going to be ended up in the hospital, and they're going to become a burden on the healthcare system and the judicial system, unfortunately. The other aspect of what's going to happen if we ban kratom, what are the people that are on kratom going to do to combat their chronic pain issues? You know, the people that were still on opiates and you're taking them away, they have nothing else to go to if you ban kratom except street level drugs. Those of us that are on kratom that have found that that works better than any other thing we've ever experienced to battle the number of issues that I've explained in this video several times. Now, what are we forced to do? If we try to go into pain management, they're not accepting new people. They're putting them on extremely low doses. And even if they go that route, it's going to be very short-lived. Anybody that's experienced being on opiates for decades and then stopping, when you get back on, they only work for a short period of time again. You know, once you cross that invisible line in the sand with opiate painkillers, you can never go backwards. I've had 7 months clean from opiates. When I went back and started using again, they worked for about a week, and then I was right back to daily maintenance. It did not work for my pain. I was just taking them not to be sick anymore. And that's what people are going to experience to try going back into pain management if they can even get in there. You know, and like before, that's going to lead people to street level drugs. They're going to be running the streets trying to find prescription drugs on the street. When they can't find them or they can't afford them because they're on fixed income, they're going to start doing heroin, and people are going to start dying. People that have only ever done prescription painkillers have no idea of what they're dealing with when it comes to heroin. The strength, it's always different. It has fentanyl, carfentanil, other stuff in it. Dangerous, dangerous ground. You know, it's going to be a very sad day if they ban kratom, and we just have to sit back and watch people's lives start to disappear. You know, another dangerous aspect of this, those of us that suffer from chronic pain and don't know anything, or if they ban kratom, they can't get into pain management, people are going to start taking their own lives. Unfortunately, I've been in that position before where my life is just so beyond repair. I can't deal with the pain. I can't deal with having to be addicted to opiates. Unfortunately, suicide becomes a good alternative. You know, in that moment of desperation, you just want the pain to stop. You know, there's no high involved with kratom compared to opiates. It doesn't slow down your respiratory system. There's no impairment. You know, so why is kratom even being an issue? You know, the people that we voted into office that are supposed to take our best interest at heart, they're not hearing our voice. And that's a sad, sad day in this country, to where they're taking away something that's helped millions of people on a daily basis battle a ton of other issues. You know, there's other things that I have not listed in this video that people use kratom for that combat their certain issues, you know. So that's about all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thank you guys for coming by and watching me. If you don't follow me on Facebook, search my name is Floyd, Floyd, Fonck, Fonck. You can also search Recovery Through Kratom. You can search it on YouTube to find more of my videos. You can search it on Facebook to find my public group. Please help us keep this fight to keep kratom legal. You know, if you know somebody that's combating any of the things I've talked about, point them in my direction on my videos. Anybody ever has any questions, comments, concern, feel free to message me. You know, my email is floydfunk@gmail. Free feel to do that as well. I talk with people on the phone. If you're not good with messaging or social media, just drop me an email. We'll exchange phone numbers. We can talk on the phone. My new mission here is to inform, educate, and try to get people to participate. You know, this is what we're going to do to keep this plant legal and to help people recover.